It allows us to tell the complete story.
People are really important in the shared vision. Industry as a whole to really reset how we think about creative and advertising.
Non-interruptive, very organic, that says brands can be in this full spectrum, sort of 360 degrees.
65% of a campaign success is driven by creative, but with AI, there's a huge opportunity to unlock and focus on creative.
David Wiener, who's the Chief Product Officer and COO for Rembrand, and Joe Hall, who's the Chief Product Officer for Spaceback. And we're excited because we're announcing a merger of these two companies.
Allow us to really continue to lead in the industry. I'm psyched to be working with these guys.
Something really exciting and new.
I am Cory Treffiletti. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Rembrand, and I'm very excited to have two people here that I can do a little bit of an interview with. So David Wiener, who's the Chief Product Officer and COO for Rembrand, and Joe Hall, who's the Chief Product Officer for Spaceback. And we're excited because we're announcing a merger of these two companies. So gentlemen, how are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having us,
Well,
Cory.
thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's just get started. David, first question I want to ask you, why are you so excited about this merger? What was it about Spaceback that made it such an interesting company?
Yeah, we've been looking at the space around creativity and advertising for a long time. And what we really loved about what Spaceback was doing in the market was really simplifying what it meant to take social creative and make it available programmatically at scale. And they really have done a great job making that simple for some of the biggest brands and some mid-sized brands to be able to do that easily and quickly and simply. And that's really what we got attracted to at first when we learned about Spaceback. And then as we dove in a little bit, we just love the team. So we love the leadership team and the tech team and the go-to-market team really have a deep understanding of programmatic, like a real passion for simplicity around users and use cases and the business. And it just seemed like a really great fit for us in this area that we're trying to really innovate in, which is bringing more interesting, unique, interactive, creative to the programmatic space.
Got it. And then Joe, on the flip side of that, what's the relationship been like? What was the excitement level and why was the interest in trying to merge with Rembrandt something that Spaceback was interested in?
Yeah, I mean, great question. David hit on one of the most important things, which is team, right? Like people are really important in the shared vision. I think there's an opportunity in the industry as a whole to really reset how we think about creative and advertising. As we've all talked about before, I think there's a Nielsen study a couple of years ago that 65% of a campaign success is driven by creative. But as in the industry, we've tended to focus a lot more on the media buy and or the optimizations or measurement. And with AI, there's a huge opportunity to unlock and focus on creative. One of the challenges with that, though, as we've seen, is because these AI tools tend to be really easy, is there's a lot of sameness out of it. But from an advertising perspective, brands really care about brand equity, and so you have to protect that. And we've talked before, you all have conferences about control. And so as this industry is shifting, we have an opportunity to not only take advantage of it, but really drive a lot of that transformation because we understand how important brand equity is, as well as authenticity, speed, cultural moments, and really be a leading AI platform for the advertising and marketing industry. So I think that's something that is a shared vision that we all have. And Rembrandt brings, huge AI expertise that will help really drive and unlock this with Spaceback's focus on automation and authenticity.
Yeah. One deep dive question to that, Joe. Tell us a little bit about how your clients have seen the performance of the types of units that Spaceback creates and how they think that's going to continue to be bolstered and even increased by more AI being integrated into them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, really good question. So there's a couple legs on this. One is like the creative content piece, and we've seen a lot of innovation on social, which is why we started to want to bring that content outside. But it's also more than just the content. So as David mentioned, we focus on UX and speed, and social changed how brands approach culture, how they interact with them. And we wanted to also bring that speed and ability and ease of use to the programmatic and advertising ecosystem so that you can also not just bring out the content, but bring it out at the cadence that culture expects. So those are a couple areas that we focused on. And what that has unlocked for us, Cory, is really a 50% performance boost, kind of at a minimum, we say, and sometimes much more, because this content speaks to people where they are. There's another stat, I think, that I can't remember where I read it, but audiences tend to trust actually creators even more than brands in a lot of instances. And as we've seen this shift in culture, as we keep mentioning, is it's important to meet consumers where they are. And so that is what's really driving a lot of this performance increase and boost that we see on social and other places. And so we know that it works. It's just how do we help brands do that in more places? And I think that those are areas we're focused on.
Yeah. David, what do you think from the clients that Rembrandt's been working with and the approach that we've had on the VPP side of the business? What do you think the response is going to be from the clients that we work with when we start to introduce them into the Spaceback?
Think it's going to be incredible because it allows us to tell the complete story. The area that Rembrandt has traditionally been focused on is being sort of natively integrated into content in a way that is non-interruptive, very organic, but it doesn't always allow a brand to tell its full story because you can't interrupt the content when you're embedded into it. You need to be part of the story of the content. So you're bringing brands into content. And what Spaceback has done really well is bringing content into advertising. And so this idea that you can bring brands into content and content into programmatic is really powerful. It helps us close the loop and complete this story that says brands can be in this full spectrum, sort of 360 degrees, where they're embedded into content, where they're part of a storyline, where they're moving at the speed of culture, where they can measure results and performance, and they can execute in the workflows and the programmatic budgets that they want to. I think it's going to allow us to really continue to lead in the industry in terms of bringing creative to the fore and making that not so difficult to figure out how to use and leverage or slow. And that's really been a problem in the industry for a long time. And at the end of the day, whereas marketers and as advertisers, we're not buying and selling media, we're buying and selling ideas, right? And so we've got formats that allow us to communicate those ideas and those stories in ways that consumers don't just want to skip. And I think that being able to do this in these unique formats that don't cause a lot of friction to create is really powerful for big brands and small ones.
Yeah, and you're both really touching on something that's really key. Obviously, it's this concept of content-based advertising, which we know that content has always been king. It's always been the winning draw to bring people into a digital media environment. But now we're talking about different ways to break through the clutter, to capture the attention of the audience by either putting you in the content or using the content as the tool to break through and becomes the vehicle for the ads itself. And I think we've seen across the board, both on what the virtual product ads have been doing for Rembrandt, and obviously what Joe and the Spaceback team are seeing, is that when you leverage good content that resonates with the audience pays more attention, and therefore everything starts to perform better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's a huge unlock is that you see a difference in approach in the social sort of walled garden platforms and open web and in TV, right? So you take just those three channels for a moment, and the social platforms are you're able to execute maybe lower quality creative and get away with that. You can't do that in CTV and in open web. There's an expectation from a consumer that, and from publishers, to be honest, that the ad creative and the formats that you're delivering into those channels are beautiful and look really good. And I think what's amazing about what Spaceback has done is they've been able to tap into this idea that we're going to take the speed of culture that happens in the social environment, social web, and be able to package that up, reformat it, and deliver it into these programmatically enabled channels on TV screens in high resolution and have that medium work. And so it's this interesting combination that really allows you to bring all of that leverage you get from being able to deploy on these narrow channels into the full spectrum. And so you think about an integrated marketing campaign as an example, and a brand wanting to launch maybe with influencers talking about a certain product release or some news about a product or product integration, and then being able to deploy some of that content or boost it on social, and then be able to take some of those posts, convert them into a TV ad and run that in your ad server across CTV and online video. That would have been months of work in a creative agency and a media agency to align in the past. And this combination allows you to deploy our integrated marketing strategy that is multi-channel by design at the speed of whatever is going on in your world or in the world around the brand.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think? What do you think the next 90 days looks like in terms of what Spaceback's customers can expect? Anything different? Pretty much the same as business as usual, or are you looking for something really exciting and new here?
Definitely always looking for something really exciting and new. David just covered off on a lot of things, and I will answer that, but I do want to, it made me think of something. So we talk a lot about blurring the lines between advertising and culture. And one thing that Rembrandt does really well, especially with the VPP and other things, is how do you fit into consumers' lives where they are? And that can be through the content that they consume directly through virtual product placement or through social content. It's really about relevance with the consumer. And so that's shifting and that's coming over more into the marketing landscape. And so that's something that will continue to grow and evolve that I'm really excited about. And as far as like our customers, I think pretty quickly we'll continue to integrate more AI into the automation piece and unlock more capabilities. Again, emphasizing control and brand protection and brand equity and continue to push that envelope forward. That'll happen as quickly as we can make it happen. And I think we'll continue to see that accelerate even beyond those first 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm excited about exactly that and basically being able to bring interesting technology and sort of like our expertise around content into the world of programmatic that Spaceback has really done a lot of work in, and bring some of the Spaceback expertise and ease of creating beautiful visual assets into the programmatic world and bringing that into our areas where we've spent a lot of time on content and want to be able to deliver that more effectively. So I think, 90 days plus, we're looking at a vision where a lot of what we're doing is executing in channels where traditionally it's been really difficult to deploy with content that was stuck behind an internal firewall or some other content partner's firewall and you couldn't get access to, and making that available to buyers and traders. And so hopefully that's what brands can start to expect from us. And consumers should just expect a better ad experience, like success for us and in the industry at the end of the day is that as a consumer and as professionals in the ad industry, the ads just need to look better and work better. And that isn't theoretical. Like the first sign of that is that we should be able to go home and want to watch content and not want to skip ads as much as we do today.
Yeah.
And so, the prevalence of the work that we're doing should directly impact performance of those ads for brands, monetization for publishers, and happiness for consumers. Like ultimately, that is success for us. And that's a big long-term industry impacting vision. And I think this is the right team to go execute on that.
Excellent. All right. Any last thoughts from either one of you that you want to share with the people who are going to see this video?
I'm psyched to be working with these guys. I think we've spent some initial time getting to know the teams. And like I said earlier, I think at the end of the day, we all have a certain amount of time in our careers to work on cool stuff. And you want to work with people who I tie with and can have fun doing it and solving hard problems and working through stuff that traditionally historically has been really hard to solve. So I think this is a purpose-built team that we're putting together to go tackle this. And I'm psyched to be working with Joe and Casey and the Spaceback team.
Joe?
Anything else I would add was probably superfluous, but yeah, having an impact for brands and marketers and what they want to do. We want to help them do their job better, and we want to push the industry forward and make a better experience for consumers, which David mentioned, which is going to deliver results for everybody across the board. So excited to see what we can accomplish together and continue to work with you all.
We're looking forward to working with you guys as well too. It's going to be a lot of fun.